and she'ein behen achrayis metaltalin ein niknan ever mashicha. It's only acquired with mashicha. The Chachamim Amrim, and the Chachamim say elu v'elu, whether it's nechasim sheish ben achrayis or nechasim she'ein ben achrayis, niknoim b'amira. It's both acquired ba'amira, the amru, because the Chachamim hold the divrei shchimra, the words of a shchimra are keksuven u'mesuren dami. They're given over with the words. The Gemara says the reason is very simple, because a shchimra is on his deathbed, and he says, I want this to happen, I want this to happen. And if he realizes that it's not going to happen, you have to write a star, you have to do this, he's going to get sicker. And because what he wants is not going to happen. And because the Chachamim said, we don't want him to get sicker, so they said, we're going to make this kinyan. If he says it, it's going to help. Okay? So the Gemara says, and the Chachamim said to Rabbi Elazar, Maisa be'iman shel b'nei Ruchel. There was a Maisa with the mother of the children of Ruchel. Shahayas Achola. She was Achola Mesukenes. The Amra, and she said, the mother, Tinosein, we're going on to the top of Tesvav, Tinosein Kevinosi, give my bracelet, Lebiti, to my daughter. And she had sons. So normally in a Torah, if you have sons and a daughter, who yarshins first? Sons. The sons. But she said, give this to my daughter. And this article was worth Shnayim Asar Mana, worth 12 mana, 1,200 mana, 12 mana. And Umesa, and then she died. The Kimu Chachamim Mistavarel, and the Chachamim were Makayim her words and gave it to the daughter. Okay, so Amar Lahem, so Rabbi Elazar said to them, B'nei Ruchel, from the B'nei Ruchel, from this Maisa is no raya. Tikvarim imam. They buried their mother. The B'nei Ruchel were Rishoyim. So therefore, there's no proof that Divrei Shkibra Kesubim Surandam, we can't bring a raya from the mice. So then now the Gemara goes on, explains.
You said they buried their mother.
They were wicked. They were wicked sons.
Mother said, may their mother bury them.
Them, right? Because they were wicked. So Tanakama, the Brisa, who says the money goes back to the Shriach, Savak Rabbi Elazar holds like Rabbi Elazar, and since there was no kinyan, it goes back to the Shemashaleach. Rav Nosson, Rav Yaakov, Nami holds Rabbi Elazar. The Avapi, the miss, and even though the one who sent it died, lo amrinan, we do not say mitzvah l'chayim divrei ameis, that there's a mitzvah to fulfill the words of the mace, and if the mace says, I owe this person money, then his yorshim have to give it. V'yesh omrim, and some say k'rabbanan, like the rabbanan, that hold is talking about a shchibra and divrei shimra k'suv mesurim dam. Rav Yehuda Nasi Omar, she'amar mishum Rameir. Rav Yehuda Nasi says in the name of Rameir, Rav Elazar, like Rav Elazar, that's talking about, doesn't make a difference, a bori or shchimra, the makabel needs a kinyan. Miyu heicha the mias, but where the Mishaleach dies before the makabel, amrinan mitzvah l'kayim divrei meis. The Chacham Amrim and the Chachamim say yachloku. We divide the properties up between the Mishaleach, the Yorshim of the Mishaleach and the Yorshim of the makabel. Mesafkale, because we don't know what who the halacha is like, and therefore we divide it up equally. And Khan and Bavel Amru and Bavel, they said Shuda Adat. Shuda means giving it over to the judges to, in their estimation, who should get more, who should get less. So shuda off, meaning the aid that came along, that was bringing this matana to the person, he knows exactly what the nosen wanted, and therefore we rely on his das. The Gemara said, Rav Shimon HaNasi, Maisa Asalashmi. So Yivoyalu, Rav Shimon HaNasi, Nasi who Mishmei the Nasi Kama. The Gemara never referred before to Rav Shimon HaNasi. It always referred to Rav Shimon ben Gamliel as his full name. It never referred to Rav Shimon HaNasi. All right. So the Gemara wants to know: is it referring to Rav Shimon HaNasi or Mishmei the Nasi Kamar? It's actually Rav Shimon, but he's referring to the Nasi, Rav Shimon Gamliel, different Rav Shimon. So Tashma, the Amr of Yosef, Rav Yosef said, halacha Rav Shimon HaNasi, that the halacha is like Rav Shimon HaNasi. So you see from this brisa that when it's talking about Rav Shimon HaNasi, it is actually Rav Shimon HaNasi. The Adayin to Boyalach, we can still have a question. Nasi who are the Kamer Mishmeda, the Nasi, the Gemara says Tekel. We don't know. Gufa, Amr of Yosef, halacha Rav Shimon HaNasi. The halacha is like Rav Shimon HaNasi, that the money goes back to the inheritors of the one who sent it. V'kaimalon divrei shchimra, but we understand that the halacha is divrei shchimra keksuva the Mesura Dama. It's like it's written and given over already. So how can you say it goes back to the Mishaleach? So the Moran says Rav Yosef Moikela. Rav Yosef says it's talking about by a bori, not by a shchimra, but a healthy person. And by a healthy person, the makabel, the one who's getting the matana, needs to make a kinyan. Since he didn't make a kinyan, so it's not his. V'ha liyorshe mishalech kamer, but it said liyorshe mishalech to the yorshim. Kaimalon shemitzvah lekayim divrei ames. So the Morah says to me, okay, learn it. Yachseru the Mishaleach. It goes back to the Mishaleach. The Mishaleach is still alive. Hadron Locha maybe come. Okay. So now the next Mishnah is in some way a repetition of the first one, but with some different cases. Hamaybe get Medin Zion. A shliach brings a get from the bow from Medina Zion to Eretz Yisrael, the Omar, and he says, "Befonai nichta." In front of me, the get was written. Avolo Omar befonai nechtam, but he doesn't say befonai nechtam. He just says half of what he's supposed to say. Or he says befonai nechtam. In front of me, it was signed. Avol lo befonai nichtam, but he doesn't say in front of me it was written. Or he says befonai nichtav kua. In front of me, the whole thing was written. Ubefonai nechtam chetchav, and in front of me, half of it was signed. I only saw one of the two Adam sign the get. Okay, or the Mishnah says another case. He says befonai nechtam chetchav. I saw half of it being written. Ubefonai nechtam kua. And I saw the whole thing, the signature of both Adam. So in all these cases where he didn't see the whole thing written, or he's only testifying on half, the Mishnah says pasul. The get is a pasul a get. She can't get married. Now the Mishnah gives another case. Echad Omer, one says, Befonai nichta. In front of me, the get was written, and another aid, another one says befonai nechtam. So there were two different people there. One said befonai nechtam, one said befonai nechtam, right? Or it's pasul. it's possible. The Mishnah says it's possible. Shnayim omrim, if two said, b'faneinu nichtav, two witnesses come along, two shlichim, and say, in front of us, it was written. The echad, and a third person, Amar b'fanei nechtam. And the third one says, in front of me, it was signed. So the first two who testified, they saw the writing, did not see the signature. And the one who saw the signature did not see the writing.
This
So-
was taking place outside of Eretz Yisrael, right?
Huh?
This has to take place outside of Eretz Yisrael.
The get is being brought from Eretz Yisrael, from
No, from
Babel
here.
to Eretz Yisrael. Okay. So the Gemara says, in all these cases, possible. And Rabbi Yehuda Masha. Rabbi Yehuda is Masha. And the Gemara will explain. Echad Omer b'fanei nechtab. One says b'fanei nechtab. Ushnayim Omer. And two people say b'faneinu nechtam. So Rabbi Yehuda says kosher. Because you have one person who's believed like two saying, I saw it being written, and two Adam testifying on the signature. So Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's kosher. Okay. So the Mishnah says, Hasulamani. What do I need this before? What I have this, I've learned this already before in the Mishnah before. Hatana lechadazimna. I've already learned it in the first pair. Maybe get the Medina Shayam. Somebody who brings a get from Medina Shayam, Sora Shiomar, V'fonai Nichtav, V'fonai Nechtam. That's what the Chum said. The one shliach who's coming has to say both. So if he says, I saw half, or he didn't say both, the Mishnah before there says it's possible. It's no good. So why do we need the second Mishnah? Why do we need the second Mishnah? So the Gemara answers, Imahi, if I only had the Mishnah in the first parak, Hava Mina, I might have thought that Sorach he has to say b'fanei nichtav b'fanei nechtam. The Eloi Amar, but if he did not say it, huh?
You repeat just what you just said.
If I only had the Mishnah in the first pair, that the shliach who brings the get has to say, in front of me, I saw it written in front of me, I saw it signed. I would have thought that he has to say it. The Eloi Amar, but if he did not say it, kosher. That lechatchila, the Mishnah wants him to say it, but if he didn't say it, it's kosher. This Mishnah comes and says that if he doesn't say it, kamash melon, there's possible. That the get is no good. It's not good with the other. So now the Gemara goes on. Nichta b'fanei nichtav chetzi b'fanei nechtam kula possible. If he saw half of it being written and the whole thing being signed, it's possible. Frag the Gemara, hey chetcha, which half of the get did he see written? The first half, the last half. So Ilema chetcha rishon, if he saw the first half of the get being written, and what's in the first line of the get? The name, the date, and the place. If he saw that, the chetcha kosher. So then Ha'amar Rabbi Elazar said before, Afilu lo kosaba ela shira achas. Even if he only saw one line being written, the first line of the get that contained the name of the man and the woman and the place, lishma shuv ein tzorach. He doesn't need more. So
the action that the get is going to accomplish is not mentioned. How could you have a document with just the name and a place without any specific intention as to what the document's going to accomplish?
so he well,
you only have to see the first line you're
because of lishma. You have to know that it's written lishma.
So the rest of the text doesn't have to be.
I mean, you look. You're right. The star. If you just have a star with somebody's name in it, it's not valid at all because you don't know what's happening, what the transaction is. But the case is talking about where he saw half of it signed, half of it written. That means he saw the other half. The other half says that this is a get that's separating between them. So the question is the first. The Gemara is saying if he only saw the first half, if he saw the first line, that's sufficient, right? So the Gemara says, Ella Ravashi, he did not see the first part of the get written, but he saw Chetchav Ho'achram. He saw the second half of the get being written, where it says that this is a bill of divorce and what's going to happen. All right. And so it's good. So the Gemara says, if he saw what he says, I saw it, the whole thing being written. I only saw half of the signature.
What does that mean? Half.
Yeah. So the
1/8.
Gemara says, so the get is possible. So what it means for now, we'll take it. It means there are two witnesses supposed to sign on the get. He only saw one of them sign. So that's Befonai Nechtav Chetchav. I only saw half. I only saw one of the two witnesses sign. So the Gemara says, Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda says, Achidush. Rav Chisda says, Afilu Shnai. Even if there were two other people with testifying, Me'idin Achasimus Yada Sheni Pasuk. In other words, there's the one shliach, the messenger, who's the messenger of the bow, who's bringing the get. He says, I saw half of it signed. I saw 1/8 signed. And then there are two more witnesses that are not from the bow, from the husband. He didn't send them, but they said, I saw the other guy sign the other half, the other aide sign. So now I have Adam testifying on both signatures. So why is the get puzzle? So Rav Chisda says that even if there's another set of witnesses that are testifying the second signature, the get is still possible. So you would say it should be kosher. There's the shliach is testifying on one, and the two witnesses are testifying on the other signature. My time. So the Gemara says, what's the reason that it's possible? So the Gemara says, oh, kuo v'kiyam get. Oh, if the whole thing has to be done either through the process of the kiyam get, where you have two witnesses come independently and testify to both signatures, that's called kiyam get. Oh, kuo v'tekonis rachamim, or the verification takes through the one shliach that was sent by the Baal, who says, I saw both signatures signed. You can't have two witnesses testify in one signature and the shliach testify on the other. It has to be either done, the shliach testifies on both, or the two Adam come and testify on both signatures. You can't mix and match. Okay, has to be done either kua b'kiyam get or kua b'tchanis chacham. Okay, so maskiv le Rava. So Rava asked a kasha on Rav Chisda. Mi kamidi, is there such a case? There such a thing? The ilu amar chad. If the shliach would have said, I saw both signatures, right? It's kosher. So hashta deika tray. Now that there's another two on the other signature, why should it be possible? If we believe the one shliach to say b'fonei nechtam, I saw the whole thing. So then, if two other witnesses come and testify in the other aid, why should it be possible?
In other
Right.
words, if you would have believed either one for the whole thing, why not
Right.
separate
Why can't you have
mix them?
right? So that's the worst kasha.
But the aide is not saying that he saw it signed. He said he recognizes the signature.
The shliach who brought the get
Yeah.
says he saw the one signed, and the two witnesses come and say they saw the other person sign it. Okay, so the Gemara says Elam or Rav. Rava says going over to the top, it says who it's not talking about the one shliach testified on one and there are two other witnesses testifying in the other. It's talking about the following case. The one shliach that was sent by the Baal, he, the Achar, and somebody else, and not sent by the Baal, testify me'idin al chasimas yad Hashem. So now you have the one shliach who was sent by the Baal testifies on one signature, and then somebody else comes and the shliach and that other person testify together on the second signature. All right. So why is that not good? Both you have two witnesses testifying on one signature, and you have the shliach testifying on the other. That should be good.
How can you testify on a signature when you didn't see the person sign it? What is-
So when he testified the one, he testified, I saw it. That's what he's saying.
The first one, but
The first one.
the second two.
So the second two are saying, I know this is his signature. Then that's verification. That's verification, right? So the Gemara says, my time, and why isn't this good? Because we are going to come, if we allow such a thing, even though it seems to be valid, but we will make a mistake with respect to Kiyam Shtaris B'Yam, where you normally have to have two witnesses seeing everything. So the Gemara is going to explain. They call Nafik Be Revia the Mamona Apuma de Chatzada. Because what's happening here? The Shliach testifies on one. So that's half, right? He's testifying on 1A, that's half. And then together with somebody else, he's testifying in the second. So he's giving 3/4 of the testimony, right? And the second one is giving only 1/4. And the Gemara says that the Torah says Apishnayim Eden, Yokum Adover. And we understand that the pasuk means Apishnayim Eden means that each one of them testifies to half. So therefore, such a situation is possible. So the Gemara says, Maskip law, Ravashi. Ravashi has a kasha. Umi kamidi the ilu masik bay ihi lekula dibura. That if the shliach himself would have given the entire testimony, he would be believed. So hashta diika chad bahade. Now, if the one shliach that the Baal sent said, I saw the whole thing b'fonei nechtam. I saw the whole thing being signed. Do we believe him?
Yeah.
Yes. So then if he has another person come along and testify in the second one, why should that be no good?
We don't need them.
You don't,
Right.
I mean, you don't need him, but the Gemara's kasha is why is that possible? So the Gemara answers, Elam Ravashi, Afilu Omar, if he says half, Ani, he says, I saw the first witness sign the get, right? And then he says, the shliach, the ani hu the sheni. Am I, the shliach, am the one who is the second signature on the get?
Oh, wow.
Huh?
He's testifying on his own signature.
He's testifying to one signature and testifying that he is the one who signed the second signature.
Right.
How do you know that's true?
And the Gemara says that is what Rav Chisda is the case is saying it's possible. So you're going to say, why?
He's an aid. He's the aid himself.
I mean, so my time, the Gemara says, why is it possible? Oh, bekua kiyam aget, oh, bekua betkanis rechabim. Either it has to be done that two witnesses verify the signatures, or it has to be done that we believe the shliach that he saw both signatures. Half of it, in other words, the shliach is testifying on the second aid, not because he's believed as the shliach, but because he's saying, I am the one, right? So that's why the Gemara says it's possible.
Why wouldn't it be more believable if the two of them the witnesses come in front? I mean, you just have to verify that that's
Right.
the signature.
Right, but that's so part of it is done through verification. Part of it is done through the shliach, through the takanas chachamim. That the Gemara says is not good. It either has to be done everything, all one way, or all the other.
All or
The
nothing.
two aid came themselves, obviously
Right.
it'd be good.
Right. So in Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, Befonai nichtav kua. The shliach says, he brings the get and he says, I saw the whole get being written in front of me. Ubefonai nechtam chetchav. But I only saw half of the signatures. All right. So the Mishnah said the get is possible. So the Gemara wants to know, Ika chetchav hechidami. What are we talking about when he says, I saw half of the signatures? So Elema, the lake of the commissariat olel klau. If we're saying that he says, I saw one, all right, but there's nobody else who saw the second one, right? So then, Hashta echad amar b'fanei nichtav v'echad amar b'fanei nechtam is the high commissariat the kua ksiva, the high commissariat the akua chasima parcel. So chetchav mavoy. In other words, if one testified, the shliach said, I saw it written, and another shliach said, I saw it signed. It's possible because the one shliach has to see both the signing and the signature. So if once the shliach says, I saw only one signature signed, for sure it's possible. So the Gemara says, Ella okeda Rava, or like Rava, or could Rav Ashi, or like Rav Ashi, lafuki Rav Chisda, to exclude Rav Chisda, that we don't hold from Rav Chisda's chiddush. So Amar lach Rav Chisda will answer you back, l'tay make, according to your reason. Befonai nichtav, if the shliach says befonai nichtav, I saw the whole get being written, avolo befonai nechtav. But he doesn't say, I saw the signatures. So the get is puzzled, right? So why do I need to tell me this? If I know that he says before nechtam, he doesn't say before nechtam, it's puzzle. So if he says chetcha, for sure it's puzzle, right? So the Gemara answers, You're right. Ela lozu avzu katani. The Gemara wants to tell me the lesser chiddush first and the bigger chiddush later on. And hachinami lozu avzu katani. Okay. Now the Gemara goes on because since the Gemara brought the memra of Rav Chisda, the Gemara is going to bring another memra of Rav Chisda, which has nothing to do with Gittin. In order for on Shabbos, you have a Rishus HaYachid. What defines a Rishus HaYachid? It's 4 amas by 4 amas, and it has a mechitza of 10 tefachim. Right? It has a mechitza of 10 tefachim. So, Amar of Chisda, you have a ditch in the ground. All right? The ditch is dug 5 tefachim down. All right? So you have the hole, and you have a wall from the bottom to the ground of 5 tefachim. Now, Gidur, on top of the hole, you build a fence of 5 tefachim. So do you say now you have 10 tefachim in total, and that would be a Rishus HaYachid, or not?
No, no,
That's
That's the question.
that's the question.
I'm gonna guess no.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna guess no.
Okay. So Gidud, if he built up a fence around the ditch that he built, Chamisha umechitza Chamisha, and then he built the fence, and then he dug down 5. So ein mitzdarfen. Rav Chisda says
Can't combine.
that you can't combine them together. Ein mitzdarfen. Ad sheyeh o kula mechitza, until you have a fence around the ditch that's 10 tefachim high by itself. Oh, kula begided, or the ditch that you dug is 10 tefachim deep. You can't have 5 half and half. That's what Rav Chisda is saying. Okay, so Achie o kula b'mechitza, or kula b'mechitza, o kula or kula b'gidud, or you dig down 10 tefachim and that's how you have the 10 tefachim. Dor Shemema.
Excuse me, so if
Gi-
you dug down 10, that would be good?
So yes, if you dug down 10 and you were standing in that pit, you're standing in the Rishus. You're standing in the Rishus HaYachid because from the ground up to the top is 10 tefachim, right?
But if you're standing on the ground, no good.
But if you're standing on the ground,
Not at the,
you're not in there.
No.
No. But if you were standing in the ditch, then you would be in a Rishus HaYachid.
Right.
If somebody threw something to you, that would be that's the malach of Otzah on Shabbos. Okay. So Dorish Meimer Gida Chamisha, the Mechitza Chamisha Mitzdarfen. So Mereimar says, not like Rav Chisda, that if you have a ditch that's 5 tefachim deep, and you build around the edge of the ditch a mechitza that's 5 tefachim high, so technically from the bottom of the ditch to the top of the mechitza is 10 tefachim. So Mereimar says, Gida Chamisha Umechitza Chamisha Mitzdarfen. They're joined together, and that would be a Rishus HaYachid.
Okay, so there's an argument here. So how do we hold?
Huh? How do we hold? So the Gemara says, the Gemara is going to answer your question. We have to have patience. The Gemara says, the hilchasa, the halacha is mitztarfen.
They do combine.
That you can combine half ditch and half mechitza.
But that goes up to the Shemayim, right? Because if you're in there and you're taller than that.
Right,
still
right,
taller.
right. So hilchasa mitztarfen. Okay. So now the Gemara goes on with a different question. Boy ilfa, yodayim tahorois lechatzoyim. If you're cleaning your hands are tame, and you want to make them tahor. So you want to wash them, right? So, and you wash your hands half of your hands. All right, we don't know exactly right now what the case is. I mean, I'm just telling you what Ilfuk asked. And the Gemara is going to explain what it means. But Yodayim tahoris lachatzoyin or ain tahoris lachatzoyin. Can, if you, and we don't know what it means, so let's go on. So hechi dam, ilema de kalmoshi be trey meravias. If you washed both hands from one revius of water. So, in other words, you used a half a revius for one hand, and you used the other half of the revius for the other hand. And that's what the Gemara means, chetya. All right? Would that be good? Would that be good? That's so if you want to say that that's the Shaila Vatanan, but we learned in the Mishnah in Yadayim and Remiravias Noitlin Liyadayim Le'echad Bafil Lishnayim. You can use from a revius of water to wash your hands for one person and a few for even for two people. So you see that when he was Ilfa was questioning half, it doesn't mean half a revius. Because this Mishnah clearly here says that you can. Right? Two people could wash with a revius on a revius of water. That means each one is getting less. Allah, so the Gemara says, what does it mean? The kalmashe chada yada, that he washes one hand separately. He washes one hand first, and then he washes the second hand later. And that's what it means, chetyo, that he washed one hand first, and then he washed the second hand later. All right. So the Gemara says, "Vatanan," we learned in the Mishnah, or it's a brisa, hadnoito yodo ba'achas b'shtifa. You wash one hand b'shtifa. Shtifa means dipping it in the water. You have a river. You're by the river.
But first it's been a tila, it says.
Huh?
First it's been a tila.
So hanotel means take water for the hand, right? Benatila, right? You're right. Hanotel yodo achas benatila. He washes one hand with water from a kli. The achas and the second one b'shtifa. He takes the other hand and dips it into the river. The river is running fast. The water, his hand is covered in the water. All right. Yadav tahoros. So this Mishnah says his hands are tar. Even though he only washed, he washed one hand with the cup, and he put one hand in the river, that's good.
All these are examples of half and half going back to the Gittin. Same thing with the-
Right, but I mean, but that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
So the Gemara says, Ella, that can't be the case. So the Gemara says, what's the case the Gemara is talking about? The Komashi Palga Yode. He washed half of his hand and dried it. And then he washed the second hand. Is he Yotza Natilas Yadayim. He washed half of his hands and he dried it. And then he washed the other half. That's the Gemara says is the Shiloh. So the Gemara says, but Ella, that can't be the Shiloh. So the Gemara says, for Amri Devei Rabbi Yanai, Yodayim Ein Taharis L'Chatzoyim. That if you wash half of your hands, or one hand, and then washed it and dried it, and then wash the second hand, the hands are still tamei. You have to wash them together. So Lo Tzricha, the Gemara says, the Ika Tofeach Mashke Tofeach. We're not talking about that the hands are dry. He washed one half of his hand. There's water on one half of the hand. And then he washes the other half. So there's water from the first half now connecting with the water on the second half. And that's what we're saying is good. And we'll stop here. Okay?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay.
And thank you.
Thank you.
You're leaving?
I'm leaving, yeah.
Simon,
Come back.
see ya.
In the fall?
Who's letting you go?
Yasher Koach, Ruvain.
When
Thank
when you
you.
come back?
You're welcome. Bob? Okay.
When you coming back? In the fall?
June 20.
I won't be here. Have a great summer.
Okay, but I lose-
You have to put up me for one more day.
One more
What's on
day.
Friday?
Rabbi Green,
Oh, Shemay.
without the E.
Yeah.
Green without the